When you think of Germany, you don't usually think of indigenous North Americans or an Apache warrior named Winnetou fighting a bear with a knife and winning. But the truth is, Germans have an intense obsession with native North Americans, and it goes back more than a century.
It's all white people that's doing it. It's all non-natives who are doing it.
As a First Nations person, I find these Germans, well, fascinating.
What are you guys doing here in Bavaria?
But I needed to understand the reason for this German obsession. And my search took me to some unexpected places.
It wouldn't occur to me from my background to dress up like another culture.
Adolf Hitler. He made them honorary Aryans, basically.
I burned all this stuff down.
There are mothers holding hands with the sisters of the northern land.
My name is Drew Hayden Taylor. I am an Anishinaabe from the Curve Lake First Nations. We call ourselves the Anishinaabe, which means the people. I grew up on the reserve in Curve Lake, and I'm a card-carrying Indian. Very frequently, it's been pointed out to me that I do not look particularly First Nations. In fact, I have a title of one of my most famous essays was called Pretty Like a White Boy. I am here in wonderful downtown Dawson City in the Yukon, land of the midnight sun. I'm the writer-in-residence at the Burton House, the ancestral home of Pierre Burton. While I've been here, I've been working on a new novel. I sometimes get asked, why do I want to travel 4,000 or 5,000 kilometers to go and write somewhere? And I look around at this place, I look at the mountains, the river, and it's just a great place to come for inspiration and just get a new perspective on life. One of the interesting things about life in Dawson or the Yukon is the high number of Germans that come here. There's English, there is the indigenous language. I think German is the third language here. In Whitehorse, there's a 767 that flies in from Frankfurt every week, bringing hundreds of Germans that are just eager to go out and explore the northern Canadian and Aboriginal experience here. One of the things I've discovered in meeting Germans here and around Canada is they're familiar with two names, Winnetou and Karl May.
Oh, look at that, ride the horse. I didn't have the gun with me in Germany, but... My name is Werner Walcher, and I live here in Whitehorse, and I'm here for 22 years, and I do adventure tours for people that come in. I got about 27 books of Karl May. I hold a piece of my youth. That's what I think. I'm sure that a lot of Germans have their copies with them.
Yes, we heard all about it too. We read all the books.
And that was about 60 years ago or more than that.
Every year we waited for Winnetou on TV. And we read all the books from Karl May.
I know more about American native history than most people do. And that's sort of what got me here.
You heard that right.
Jag som Winnetou.
Winnetou.
A fictitious German Indianer named Winnetou, written by the author Karl May over a century ago, is the reason literally thousands of Germans flock to Canada's north every year. But for a First Nations person like me, it makes me curious. I know all about Karl May, I've even read some of the books, but that's not enough. I want to learn more about what generates this interest today. So here's my goal. I am off to Germany, to the land of great art, European dynasties, and centuries-old architecture, to find out what the deal is with this German obsession with my indigenous culture. So why not start by exploring how and why Winnetou exploded onto the big screen in the 1960s, when a series of films were created starring French actor Pierre Brice.
Okay, now these are the big two stars. On your left, you have the blue-eyed Winnetou, a Frenchman playing an Apache warrior in a German film. The guy on the right is Old Shatterhand, played by Lex Barker, who played originally Tarzan in the 1950s. And these two guys were superstars of the German film industry.
But to be sure, the Winnetou fascination has extended far beyond the movie screen, right onto the country's grandest stages. So, I have decided to visit the biggest one.
We're in northern Germany in Bad Segeberg, where they hold one of the largest festivals that celebrates the work of Karl May and Winnetou, where they've translated his books into plays. And they can have up to 200 to 300,000 people here all summer seeing this play.
This production is big. We're talking Disney big. Dozens of actors, horses, and even a trained bald eagle. Since 1955, millions of Germans have come to watch one of the most spectacular stage shows I have ever seen. The plot of the Winnetou stories is actually quite simple. A white traveler, Old Shatterhand, befriends the Apache warrior Winnetou. They fight together. They become blood brothers, German and Apache. It'll almost make you cry. Ultimately, Winnetou becomes chief of all the Apaches, and together, they fight the forces of evil. And the crowd loves it.
Seeing this play, I'm conflicted. As a person of the theater, I am overwhelmed by the theatrics of it. The production values, it's phenomenal. Yet, on the other hand, as a First Nations person, all this money, all this time, all this effort is kind of creepy. It's kind of overbearing. It's kind of misplaced.
I feel like the thousands of fans here cheering for white people dressed as Apache warriors see this as good family fun. But here's the crux. It's not just stage actors dressing up like Karl May's Indians. Supposedly, still today, there are hordes of ordinary Germans that try to live as indigenous people. I have got to find them. In picturesque Bavaria, I traveled to the edge of a national park to see if I can track down these hobbyists. I'm almost there when I see something not quite right.
So here we are in the south of Bavaria, and you see all sorts of weird, incidental little Aboriginal segments of our society. For instance, up there you have what I think is a Mohawk warrior. Kind of looks like the father of a girl I used to date. Over there, you have buffalo. What can be confusing in situations like this is an image like that. To me, this represents pan-Indianism, and what that means is these few individual representations of Native culture are here to represent all Native cultures. We are all Mohawk, we all hunted the buffalo, stuff like that.
I'm here at Pullman City, a little slice of the Wild West in the heart of Bavaria. Over the last 2 decades, hundreds of thousands of Germans have flocked here every summer to soak up that old-time 19th century frontier lifestyle. And we happen to be here during the week that is known as Indian Week, which celebrates Indian culture, so I'm looking forward to seeing a lot of South Asians. This place is packed with, well, German Indians. Come for the cowboys, stay for the Indians. Some enthusiasts stay for a week, some for the whole summer, living their version of the way North American Indians did 140 years ago. They dress up, they do hours of beadwork. That must have taken you forever to do that.
3 Monate.
3 months.
3 months.
Yes.
And of course, they dance and celebrate their, Indianness? Like I said, Germans here refer to natives as Indianers, and this is no joke for these people. This place baffles me. Is this just about camaraderie? Or is there something deeper? I wonder how this all started. Dr. Hartmut Lutz has a theory.
When you think of when this character, Winnetou, was invented, this was just shortly after Germany had become a nation or a nation state. I mean, Germany is younger than Canada. If you look at the appeal of Old Shatterhand and Winnetou, the values they represent are very much middle class, middle of the road ideals. In a way, they're people that you might desire as a friend, you know? And there were very few people who disliked Mai's writing.
In the Winnetou that I've been reading, it has all this interesting stuff. He's hunting buffalo, and I wasn't aware there was buffalo in the southwestern desert. Right? He's killing grizzly bears with his knife. It's quite all over the place.
Yeah. I was looking for a term in English that might catch some of the ironic ambiguity. So I came up with Indian enthusiasm, and it stuck. It really means an exaggerated, mainly ahistorical, romantic infatuation with Aboriginal people.
Indian enthusiasm seems like a good word. They sure do seem enthusiastic, for lack of a better word.
For some people, it's only a hobby. Yeah. When you see the people with this headdress with all those feathers, yeah, that's something we call Hollywood. Yeah, because this is not real, of course. It's not only a hobby for us; it's our lifestyle.
This lifestyle is big business. Where do the Indian enthusiasts get all this stuff? I'm visiting Hunting Wolf, Germany's most successful purveyor of genuine Indian wares. Tell us about your shop. This is all your work?
Juwelerie kommt von Amerika und das ist Kanada. Und Navarro, Sunni und Pueblo.
So you import it in, bring it in, and sell it here?
Yes.
Ah.
Also das ist Friend von mir, er macht diese Flöte.
The flutes?
Na?
And lots of posters of you.
Yes.
You're a pop star.
No, no. A little.
A little. A petit.
20 years in Pullman City. Zu Beginn von Pullman City, first day. Bis today, 20 years.
Hunting Wolf isn't just infatuated with the Indianer. He takes it to a whole new level and puts on public displays of his mystical connection to the bison.
You work with the buffalo, the bison. You bring them in during the thing, and I've never seen that before. How long have you been doing that?
18 years, yes, 18 years. You walk with buffalo,
You have to think like the buffalo.
When you come and no chance, no chance. Look at when I make that here, so on the buffalo, the big common cop.
Yes.
I learn from the buffalo.
So when you kneel down, you put your head to the buffalo, you think like a buffalo, you're one with the buffalo?
Ich vertraue ihm.
He's one with the buffalo.
He's one with the buffalo.
Kleine Buffalo muss lernen, no sprechen. Mit
With your yes, no talk, think.
But watching Hunting Wolf work with the bison gives me the feeling that there's still something more to this. I'm going to stick around this place a little bit longer. But first, I need a good night's sleep. Maybe over here, or maybe not.
But please don't do that. Don't tell them that we live here like you want. But this is a no-go. You know, this is only commercial. I'm so. I burned all this stuff down. My Indian name is Patsikoya Inima. This is a no-go. So, cut.
This is the moment we realized there are some competing forces in Pullman City. People are drawn here because they're curious or they're spiritual seekers. But there are also kitschy, Disney-like elements. There are even wooden teepees, which we decided to poke a little fun at.
So I'm going to do what all German Indians do at the end of the day, go to my teepee condo. I recognize this tribal teepee architecture. Eastern IKEA nation.
Admittedly, we thought the teepees were a little tacky.
$160 a night.
But this guy really hated the teepees.
Oh, please, put it away. I won't burn down these teepees. Smaller than a joke.
I know. We're poking fun at it.
I laugh about that. When I see this plastic shit, you know, on the
Hinges and wood on it.
Hey, you go crazy or whatever.
Well, the way you were charging up at us, I thought we were going to get into a fight.
Yeah. Das ist gut. That's good.
Ich bin ein Ojibwe.
Ich bin ein Berliner.
You've read Karl May?
Yeah, for sure. I grow up with native, with winnnetou, yeah. Feel the nature, the freeness, you know, the wilderness. Native is freeness.
And you can get that freeness in a place like this.
Yeah. Please, over there in the where the other peoples live, in the authentic area. I was over there for 10 years ago. I have my TP over there. My woman, my child, me. We live over there.
I decided to follow my new friend's advice and visit what is called the authentic area. It's a beautiful section of Pullman City that's tucked away. It feels authentic, with everything from period cabins to teepees erected with fine German precision. It almost feels real. Almost.
My name is Hans-Jürgen. One time a year, I'm here in the Indian week and play Indian, yeah, or Native American. Yeah, I think it's the right name for it. And yeah, I love this lifestyle. Yeah, that's it.
The line between dress-up Indianer and an immersive anthropological fascination with a noble culture is, let's just say, a little fuzzy.
Grüß Gott, Old Shatterhand. Grüß Gott means hello. It means greet God, our creator.
Then I meet Christian, a farmer from Bavaria. You're fascinated by Native American culture. Why?
I was fascinated as a child, as a young boy, in Winnetou, and I realized if there was a battle between Indians, natives, and cowboys, I was on the side of the Indians every time.
So was I.
Like you, maybe. And the real history, what happened with the Native Americans, is very sad, and I think I'm shocked what happened with this people, with your people. The white men came from Europe and killed them and took their land. A little bit like a farmer, I can imagine what it means. If anybody took my land, it doesn't work. That's the reason why. And this fascination went by me all the time. And it's for me not a carnival. I'm interested in the real story.
And have you ever been to America or Canada?
Yes, I visited Indian reservations, Native American reservations, in the Navajo reservation, and it was also a fascination for me, and I was also shocked about the situation in the reservations.
What do you mean situation?
You know, there are great problems with alcohol, with drugs maybe, with suicide. Suicide, sorry. And I think, where are the proud natives? Hope they will come back again.
It's odd. Back in Canada, if a non-native person dressed up like Christian does here, he would be accused of cultural appropriation or even racism. But over here, I've met a lot of Germans who dress up as Indianers, like Christian and Igor, that are certainly not doing this out of spite or racist intent. I need the perspective of another person from North America, so I'm meeting with Professor Marianne Hink, originally from Philadelphia. She spent over a decade in Germany teaching North American and Native literature.
When my daughter goes to daycare, they have Indian Week. At her daycare, they set up teepees. The kids have to paint their faces, paint their t-shirts, and make their own headdresses. My neighbor puts up a teepee for her little boy because all these kids love to play cowboys and Indians, you know, like in Karl May. So I thought, what is the deal with Karl May here? What is the obsession? He created basically archetypes. And archetypes are things people can identify with because it goes deeper into your psyche. You can say, this is good. Winnetou is not native. It's a German projection of what Germans should be like. He just happens to be native. And not that I think that Karl May is guilty of cultural appropriation. I mean, this is the tricky question. Where do you draw the line between appreciation and appropriation?
Appreciation or appropriation? If there's one place that would know what Karl May was thinking, it would be the Karl May Museum in Radebeul, a town in the heart of the former East Germany. I'm going to meet up with Robin Leopold, the museum director. To you and to the average German, who is Winnetou and who is Old Shatterhand?
Winnetou and Old Shatterhand, one of the most famous fantasy figures here in Germany. A little bit like the comic heroes in America. Yeah, Winnetou is Superman here for us Germans.
Okay, if we go back to Karl May's times, when there was a lot of poverty, he was born into a destitute family. So what he does remember is hearing stories and reading stories. He got lost in the world of books. He said that was the most dangerous place, the library.
Believe it or not, Karl May wrote the best-selling German books of all time, the Winnetou books, without ever having visited North America.
And this was the base ground of all the hobbyist scenes here in Germany. And then this hobbyist scene grow up and grow up and grow up.
The German hobbyist movement dates back to the early 20th century. As times got tougher and the cities got smoggier, more and more people organized escapes to fantasy worlds in the forest. But unfortunately, one of Winnetou's biggest fans was one of Germany's most notorious leaders.
Adolf Hitler was a gigantic fan of Karl May.
Now that I find creepy.
Wenn die älteren Jahrgänge noch wanken werden könnten, die Jugend ist uns verschrieben und verfallen mit Leibesleid.
What he really did love about Karl May is that for him, Winnetou was kind of like the perfect warrior. He embodied what he wished the Germans to be.
In the Nazi period, the Indians, the Indianer, became sort of a projection sheet onto which some of the ideals that the Nazis wanted to push, for young boys mainly, were projected. Racial purity, absolute obedience to the chief or the Führer, and Wehrertüchtigung, that is preparing you to be a soldier or to be a prowess in battle.
The Karl May Museum is filled with photos and artifacts that are connected to the Indian mythology of Adolf Hitler's era.
Now this looks suspiciously like a Lakota warrior.
Yeah, this is one of our famous mannequins called Dakota Chief.
So the Nazis thought the Lakota were like Uber Indians.
Yeah, maybe a little bit the Uber Indianer, yeah.
Adolf Hitler made them honorary Aryans, basically.
Oh, how do you make somebody an honorary Aryan?
Well, I guess it was his decision because...
It was just sort of a declaration.
Yes, he decided on that.
Deshalb friedfertig sein und mutig zugleich.
If we talk about Germany, we always come to that period, which is the most decisive, unfortunately, part of our history. And we have to acknowledge that and constantly deal with it. It is very complex, let's put it that way. And how many Canadians do you have, I mean, settler Canadians, who say, yes, we are on stolen land? Very few will acknowledge that.
It is incomprehensibly bizarre to me that Hitler and the Nazi elite idolized the First Nations culture. Weirder still is that it didn't end with the fall of the Third Reich. In fact, it grew. From 1949 to 1989, behind the Iron Curtain, under the nose of the Stasi East German secret police, a new appreciation for the free, fearless North American native took hold. The cinema would explode with Indianer films, many that were very sympathetic to the plight of North American First Nations people, and featured the most famous actor ever to grace the East German screens.
Let me show a little bit about our famous movie star here in East Germany, Gojko Mitic.
Wojciech Mitek?
Gojko Mitic.
Gojko Mitic.
Yeah.
He's a strikingly handsome man.
Yeah, he was very masculine, so with lots of muscles. His popularity was a really sex symbol here in East Germany. He was our Brad Pitt in our movie industry.
From Adolf Hitler to the Brad Pitt of East Germany, this Indianer obsession just never ends. I have to ask this charismatic hero about his movies.
Why were they so popular in the Eastern Bloc?
Wahrscheinlich, weil, sagen wir, diese Identifikation mit den Indianern und dessen gerechter Kampf ist das, glaube ich, was bei den Menschen ankommt.
Ein Selfie.
Ja, genau.
Ja, okay.
Why do you think both Germanys, they became infatuated? Why Native North Americans?
Weil eben die Geschichte der nordamerikanischen Indianer ist wahrscheinlich am interessantesten. Dass wir von der, sagen wir, Mutter Erde das nehmen, was wir brauchen und nicht mehr.
The native lifestyle and search for nature runs deep in Germany. And I think I discovered one of the reasons.
I'm just outside of Brandenburg, Germany, in what appears to be a lush forest. But if you look at it closely, you can tell it's well managed, almost manicured. This is the kind of forest you find all over Germany. And when I was in the Yukon, I talked to many Germans there who had come looking for that sense of wilderness, the lack of precision, of being organized, and of basically being government controlled.
Even 7,000 kilometers away, when I was back in the Yukon, it was not hard to find Germans who left their home country for this exact reason. Driftwood Holly is one of them. He left East Germany 20 years ago.
Little Lily, mammoth hair, dim the sun, got scared the rivers, never been so high. The space was gone and her dog not there.
I live in Dawson City, across the river, living a pretty interesting lifestyle, I would think. Kind of close to the land.
Now the river covers all the ground while the moon comes up, but the dog's not found. Mammoth hair jumps on.
I was born in 1969 in a town called Zwickau in Germany. If you're in prison, you want to get out. And our country, to some people, was a prison. In East Germany, we had two TV channels. And one was political propaganda, and the other one was bad films. So when something like these films came on, you would stop playing in the streets and go in and watch this. I think Karl May's stories kind of romanticize that feeling of independence and being content and being connected with your surroundings and live to your full potential. When I grew up, that possibility didn't exist because I grew up in East Germany. We were behind the wall. And then later when the wall was down, we were able to travel, and I was always drawn to the north.
Just to be with us.
The draw of nature and freedom is indisputable for Germans, like many of these First Nation enthusiasts. But not everyone is in love with this brand of Indian enthusiasm. Native activist Red Haircrow has spent a dozen years living in Berlin as an aspiring filmmaker and culture critic. His latest work, a documentary, is titled Forget Winnetou. As you might guess, he's a little more skeptical about the character's appropriateness.
So you're here as an Indigenous person living in Germany. If you came across the hobbyists.
Yes.
What was your reaction?
When natives I knew said, oh, you're going to Germany, you have to go to the hobbyist scene. And they wouldn't tell me what it was really about. They said, you just have to see it for yourself. It's all white people that's doing it. It's all non-natives who are doing it. It wouldn't occur to me from my background to dress up like another culture. I've been marginalized. I know what it means to be copied and, in a way, mocked in that way. So I wouldn't do it.
Red Haircrow's views don't entirely agree with other natives that I've met in Germany. In Pullman City, Wesley, Tracy, and Lowry make regular trips to Germany to dance, craft, and share their cultures.
What are you guys doing here in Bavaria?
We do a cultural exchange. We perform the dance styles we dance. And then we do a question and answer.
What kind of questions did you get asked?
Do you live in teepees? Do you still live in teepees?
No.
No.
Yeah, but we're sitting in a teepee.
Yeah, but we're sitting in a teepee, right?
In Canada, there's this whole big discussion, argument, controversial thing about cultural appropriation and non-native people doing native things. I saw you guys out there with 10 other dancers, of which you guys were the only authentic dancers.
Yeah.
Does that ever cross your mind, the appropriation, the representation here of native culture?
Yeah. They might not know, you know, you have to be given the right by a veteran to wear an eagle feather and that sort of thing. You know, sometimes you have to be gifted the right to wear some of the stuff you wear, you know, and they skip that step. When we're brought up in the powwows, it's your elders, you know, teaching you the way to act, to behave, to carry yourself before, you know, this is earned. It's earned.
Yes.
But it doesn't upset me to an extent because I know that they're not coming from a place of hate, you know, or ignorance. You know, they have asked us questions on how to...
More admiration?
Yeah, more admiration, I guess.
See, I've been here before, so I wasn't shocked to see like the beadwork and like they make all this. And
And what do you think of the quality?
It's good. It's really good. Some of their beading's better than mine, that's for sure. Yeah, I'm not offended at all. They're like just like sisters or brothers. They sit, they'll drink, we'll have tea or coffee, and they're just very respectful, very just wanting to learn.
Lowry, a top Navajo dancer from New Mexico, has been pleasantly surprised by the tone of interactions he's had every summer in Germany.
The German interest in the native cultures is huge. I mean, every bit of what we do and everything of what we say, you know, they hold it. They're just happy and excited to learn more about our culture.
Well, that's the interesting question. Should non-native people have the right or the interest in dressing up as native people, telling native stories?
Difference is for me is when I'm here in Europe that I see is like, I don't have that sense of racism here, you know. They know they're not Indian. They want to play being Indian. They want to live the old way, you know. But at least learn it from the proper way and in a respectful way. And if one person walks away from it, having a better understanding about your culture and everything, I think we're doing great.
One of the interesting things we've sort of discovered talking with native people who are here, saying that what they get here is almost no sense of racism, that there is a dark undercurrent coming through Canadian and American society, but not here. And is that so bad?
It is here. It's just that they're not aware of it. A lot of the native visitors who come over, who even maybe visit annually, don't know the undercurrents that are there. After almost 15 years here now, you see the other dangerous elements that are in it, that are behind this rock star treatment. It is so very Eurocentric in nature. It's so very whitewashed and so very misinterpretive of natives and native cultures, traditions, and people.
Is that why you're anti-hobbyist?
I'm against hobbyism because it's a form of colonialism where you're taking away, you're using people without their permission for your own self-gratification. And it's just continuing colonial practice. And for me, this needs to stop.
I've spent a lot of time thinking about how I feel about Germans dressing up as native people and impersonating our cultures. Still, even back in Canada, there's an obvious counterpoint to be made about my concerns.
Beer flows, we cheer, celebrate, Oktoberfest has begun.
Yes, Oktoberfest. Oktoberfest. Every year, hundreds of thousands of people descend on Kitchener, Ontario, formerly Berlin, Ontario, to wear fake lederhosen and chug beer like fake Germans. By definition, it is cultural appropriation, taking aspects of another culture without understanding their meaning, reducing the cultural history and artifacts of a group to the level of mere fashion. That is Oktoberfest. And it's fun. I have in my hand some authentic Bavarian lederhosen, and I've been debating whether or not I should wear this here at Oktoberfest. But the problem is, this whole documentary, at its core, it's been dealing with cultural appropriation. And in the end, I just thought it wasn't proper for me to wear these, so I'm not. However, I will drink some Bavarian beer. Admittedly, I am conflicted about the topic. On one hand, it is a form of cultural fetishism. I'm somewhat uncomfortable with people parading around the German countryside in an eagle feather headdress just because it's fun and a way for them to find their inner Indian. Powwow dances and teepees are not cute symbols. They are a link to a proud history and should be respected as so. And yet, the people doing this aren't bad people. Maybe a little misguided, but many Germans I've met genuinely do have warm feelings for native North Americans. They aren't really wannabes in a classical sense, because they know they are not and never will be native. I've got to give them that. So what do? You engage. I want to correct the behavior, but that doesn't have to come from a place of anger. It can only come from a place of love, of understanding. So no, I won't wear lederhosen to Oktoberfest, even though I do have the legs for it. I won't say that I'm okay with plywood teepee hotels. That's just wrong. But I will gladly spend an afternoon with any of these people I've met on my journey, sharing stories, laughing, breaking bannock, and trying to do better every day. That is the real Indigenous experience.
What am I supposed to do with it?
I will accept the honor, usually reserved for veterans and elders, of carrying the Canadian flag in the grand entry. Proudly, with a sense of joy and respect.